Hi, we're at PCR London Valves 2023. I'm Prendergast, and it's a huge pleasure to be with my friends Francesco Maisano and Azeem Latib to focus on an important milestone in the journey of transcatheter valve intervention 20 years on since the first edge-to-edge repair procedure. Francesco, we've now done over 200,000 of these procedures across the world, but it's a moment just to look back and maybe remember the early days. What can you tell us about that exciting time?
Early days are exactly 20 years ago. I was much younger, maybe much smarter than now. Now we start talking about the early days. Well, it was a time of great innovation, great challenges, great stories, and also a time where we were learning by doing. It was a time when these procedures were almost a endeavor. You don't know where to go. And now, imagine 20 years later, it's a real therapy, which is not anymore palliation, can be a real alternative to other therapies, and it's worldwide spread.
But I think it's fair to say in those early days, there were a lot of people who thought it would never work, that there were people who felt that heart failure, for example, was a medical therapy disease, that the intervention was too simplistic, and there were a lot of people who were resistant to the innovation. There were a lot of people involved pushing against that.
I think there was, first of all, the edge-to-edge technique was already not so much in the head of the surgeons, because it's not physiological to have two orifices, although it is not anatomical, but physiologically there is not much difference. And so we had first to conquer the idea that it is possible to live with two orifices rather than one. And we had this discussion with Alfieri, which is very important. After that, we had the challenge to convince the larger community that this therapy could be an adjunct to medical therapy for heart failure, for instance. We have been pioneering this concept in the early days, in the year 2009-10. We collected data in Europe. The Access EU registry collected 75% of patients treated with TEER were heart failure patients. But obviously, after a while, the co-op trial was very important to establish the therapy in the map. And this tells you about the importance of collaboration across the ocean with the two mentalities, the land of early adoption and experience, the land of the real world, and the land of the evidence, working together and building the evidence.
Exactly, and after that pivotal moment, of course, Azeem, with randomized control trial evidence for the benefits of the procedure, there's been a lot of acceleration with refinement of the technique, better imaging, new devices. How is it all evolving in your mind?
Yeah, we did this great celebration in these last few days at London, and I was reflecting back at it and reflecting at watching the first case and the echo from the first case. And I have to be honest, I don't think I would have been able to be successfully implant a device with that echo. There was 2D, there was no 3D. It was really challenging, yes, it was successful. And the other thing that came across as we talked to these giants in our field, like Francesco and Ottavio, Dreyfus, was this journey has been really difficult. It required a lot of persistence. Mm-hmm. And for me, the 20-year celebration is also about celebration of innovation. Absolutely. And innovators and physicians who really pushed that envelope. And that's continued to happen. So for me, one of the biggest changes has been how much imaging has changed. Sure. And I look at that image and I think about now, when I'm doing everything in 3D and 3D MPRs, how much easier it is. Yeah. I think we've shown also how much more reproducible the procedure can be it's in so many countries right now. And so I think we continue to see this continued innovation, which is the imaging to make it easier, the device, but also clinical data and randomized studies like COAPT.
Yeah. And this merger, of course, of the disciplines of imaging and intervention is very powerful and ultimately benefits patients. Absolutely. We have a more collaborative heart team, we have different approaches and different ways of thinking, and these people then come together and do the procedure and refine it and make it improve successively. We've also got new innovations, of course, coming from other parts of the world, Azeem, China, India. There's a lot of development in both the mitral and the tricuspid space as a result of this breakthrough.
Yeah, it's been very exciting to see how what started as a stitch became a device and now has stimulated all these other devices, right? And I'm so excited when I see there's going to be annuloplasty devices coming along, and multiple, both from Europe, US, but also from China. Other TEER devices, making the procedure maybe even better and more reproducible. But even novel repair technologies, such as thinking about replacing the posterior leaflet, and then let's not forget replacing the entire valve, where it's been also a tough road, and I think TEER led us to this, and I think we'll continue to see a lot of growth in all these technologies, particularly replacement.
The possibilities are endless, but where would you both think we will be in, let's say, 5 years' time? Francesco?
5 years' time, we will see a lot of things happening. I think there will be more TMVR devices available in clinical practice. There will be more eyes guidance, I think. We have seen the potential there. So imaging overall is going to help us. We will see a lot of AI-supported decisions. And we will continue to see the importance of the collaboration among physicians, but also very important, the collaboration between physicians and industry, the collaboration with our patients, because we have been celebrating 20 years of collaboration, not only of innovation. Innovation is a global effort that brings everybody, all the stakeholders are involved, the believers, the non-believers, and I think that was my moment of that I will remember. Maybe also just what our patient said, thank you for what you do every day. You are representing a better class of doctors, somebody that really I thank all for what you do every day.
And Azeem, coming back to the patients, I mean, these are the individuals who are ultimately benefiting the most from these new procedures that were not available in the past.
Absolutely. I think we shouldn't forget patients, and we shouldn't forget that for the future, we still got a lot of patients to treat and a lot of unsolved problems. When I think of patients who have MAC, for example, who often have very severe mitral disease that can't be treated right now surgically or with a transcatheter option, I think there's a lot of work there still ahead of us to make what we have now, TEER, more reproducible, get it out to more physicians so they can treat more patients, but then also not forgetting there's a lot of patients that we need new options for.
Yeah, so there you are, 20 years on, we've come a long way, we've achieved a lot, but there are still challenges ahead, not least to make sure that patients have access to these amazing evolving procedures. Thanks for joining us.